Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Fine. So in yesterday's class, we have discussed this dir function, which is called as directory function. So this directory function is a built-in function that lists the identifiers defined in the module. So I have shown you also practically in PyCharm. So for example, if I want to find out what are all the identifiers in this particular program, it is showing me all of them. Okay, so it is showing me that in this particular program, you can see there is an identifier which is print underscore var, and you can see print underscore var over here, and there is a variable x, and you can see variable x over here. So these are the variables that are defined inside the program, identifiers defined inside the program, and the rest of the variables, rest of the identifiers are used by this program internally. Okay, so this dir will give you that. The next one is regarding the sys module, and in case if you want to know that what are all the identifiers that the sys module uses, you can say dir, and then you can pass this module name as an argument into this dir function. So before that, you need to import this sys. Okay, so because without importing, your program will not be knowing sys module. So first statement is you need to import the sys module, and then you have to say dir and then pass this sys module, sys or any module by fact, into this particular dir function. So you can see these are all the identifiers that are there in the sys module. And one thing that you're very familiar with is set recursion limit, which I talked about. I talked about this method when I discussed recursion. Okay, so I said there is a depth for recursion, and what is the maximum? Okay, which is 10 power 3, right? Okay, so that you can actually change the depth of recursion by using the set recursion method, and which is a method inside your sys module. Okay, so these can be like your questions, like in which module is there this set recursion limit method and all this. Okay, fine. Certain things you need to be familiar with, and so this is regarding the sys module. And in case if I want to know what are all the modules in the that provide the built-in space, so I can use this underscore underscore built in, which is a module I already told you. So if I pass this, you can see all the identifiers that your Python uses internally. Okay, so these are all the identifiers. You can see frozen set over here. Okay, so you can see map, you can see, okay, so many things you can see, range you can see. So all these are some exceptions, some errors. All these errors you also get when you are executing your program. So all these are the internal identifiers, built-in identifiers that your Python uses. So by using the dir function, you can actually retrieve the identifiers. Okay, fine. The next is calendar module. I'm just discussing this so that it will be interesting for you. To get the calendar module into your program, I'll be saying import calendar. And then I just wanted to show you the identifiers in the calendar module first. Okay, so dir calendar. I think I have executed this yesterday and shown you. But once again, okay, so let us look in this. Okay, so these are all the identifiers. Calendar generally have the names of the month and the day names. Okay, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and all that. And also some identifiers, some modifiers. Okay, some methods that are required to work with calendar are here in this particular calendar module. Okay, print calendar dot text calendar dot this one, it will give the doc string. Okay, so of the calendar. So the doc string, I already text calendar. So I already talked about the doc string. Doc strings are the text that you generally give for enhancing the readability of the method, or description of a method, description of a function. Okay, to describe a method, like you can use this doc strings. So you can also use help. In the previous classes, I told you how to use help. You can also use help. You can also use this underscore underscore doc underscore underscore to retrieve the description of a method. For sometimes you may want the description of the method because there are so many methods here. So they might look confusing sometimes, because I have month here and also I'm having next month here, and certain things like I have month length, and then I have some localized month and all that. So certain things are confusing to us, and if you want to know exactly what the description of the method is, then you can use this doc strings to retrieve the description of a certain methods. Okay, so inbuilt module methods, if you want to know the description, you can use this doc strings. And this is a very simple program wherein I have used imported the calendar module, and I have created the calendar for the month of June 2021. So for this month, I have created the calendar, and it is a very simple way, by just using the built-in, by using the standard library. I just have created this calendar by just using 3 lines of code. Okay, so I can also reduce this x is equal to, I can simply ignore it and put it in print statement, and within 2 lines of code I have created the calendar. So you can understand how powerful Python is with its built-ins. Okay, so with the built-ins, Python is very powerful. You can create very powerful programs in very less time, because put the a calendar. And what I did is I said calendar dot text calendar. So this is a method which will actually create the calendar in a text format. And then this is what I said, calendar dot month. This is a parameter into this text calendar method function. And calendar dot month means that I want the calendar to begin with Monday. Okay, so if you want to begin with Sunday, you can say Sunday, whatever, like for what is the first day that need to be printed in the calendar you're mentioning. So I want it to be printed from Monday, so I said calendar dot Monday. And then I said x is equal to c dot format month. So here in this format month, I am giving the year and the month. So for which month and for which year I want the calendar. So I am using the format function over here. So for printing in the, for getting the text calendar, I am using text calendar function. And this text calendar function is taking one argument. So I'm giving Monday over here, so that the calendar begins with Monday. And then I am giving the year and the month of which I want the calendar. So I want 2021, this is the year, and for the 6th month, which is June. So I said print X. Now what happened? The calendar is, when I execute this program, the calendar will be printed. Okay, so this is how you can make use of the module Sunday. Okay, so there are so many modules, you can just explore those modules. And many modules are very interesting. So there are graphics modules also, like Turtle, and so you can explore them. And today in my class I have told you how to okay, so how to create your own module, and how to import that module in another program, and how to use those methods written in one module in another module. Okay, so we have written that program. I have written in one module, I have written the program to find the largest among the two numbers. So that's a function I have written in one module, and that program I have imported in this in the other module, and I have executed that. So successfully the modules are imported in the other module, and they are executed. Okay, now let us try to look into a concept which is called as name conflict. Say I'm having two modules. Okay, so you can see here that I have two modules. The two modules names are, one is b.py and the other is a.py. Okay, so these two are two modules. Remember that every module should have an extension .py. This is very important. Okay, so the modules will have .py extension. So I have a module over here, A and B. Okay, and both are having function in it. Okay, so for simplicity's sake, I just have written one function in it. So you might be wondering, for one function why I need to write modules. Here the concept is not to look into that aspect. The concept is how the modules can be imported in another module. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm writing very simple codes inside the modules. So here I said def repeat. So the name of the module is repeat over here in B module. And there is another function inside A module which is also repeat, and both are taking some variable X. It doesn't matter it is A or B or whatever, but the name of the function is same. Okay, now this function is doing some multiplication with 1,000 on X, and this is actually doubling the X and giving. Okay, fine. Now we understood the entire concept of modules, right? Have you written the modules built-in? Coming to the concept of built-in modules, we don't know who wrote that modules. Okay, so but we are using them. We are using those modules in our program. Okay, say that I'm having two modules. Okay, so with the same method name in both the modules. So that's what I try to picturize over here for you to understand the name conflict. Here both the modules I have imported in my program. I have imported A module as well as I have imported the B module. I said from A import repeat and from B import repeat. So both the modules I have imported over here. Now what is the point is, I said C is equal to repeat 5 and then I want to print a C. Okay, so now the name conflict comes. Okay, so your main program will not understand. Simply I said repeat. I didn't associate it with the module name. I just said repeat. Now, which repeat your function, your main program should take, whether it should take repeat from the A module or whether it should take repeat from the B module. So there is a confusion, right? Why this confusion has arisen? If this one has arisen because of having the same names. Two modules with two different functions, but the name of the functions are same over here, and you want to use both the functions in your program, then how this can be resolved? Okay, so when you look, so just take a look at this particular answer. So it is taking the second one. Okay, so from B import this one it is taking and it is printing 5,005 into 1,000 5,000. Okay, so it is, but maybe you wanted this one, maybe you have written this repeat so that I'll get 25, but it is not giving me the double of the number, but it is giving me 5,000. So your purpose is not served. Maybe you how to resolve a certain conflict. Okay, B you're having repeat, right? Here inside A you're having repeat. It's identified with its module name, so that's why we call it as fully qualified name. So you have to use the fully qualified name. To use the repeat from the B module, you have to say B dot repeat. Okay, so B dot repeat you have to say. And if you want to use the repeat from the A module, I'll be saying A dot repeat. So this repeat is fully qualified because we are also mentioning the module name over here. So this is how the name conflict is resolved. So when I said A dot repeat and I have passed 5, what happens is the repeat that is there in the A module will be executed. So which will give me 25. And then I am saying B dot repeat. So the repeat in the B module will execute with 7 into 1,000, 7,000. Okay, so this is the concept of fully qualifying name. Okay, so full programming habit that you write the fully qualified name of a method rather namespaces. The first one is local namespace, and the second one is global namespace, and the third one is built-in namespace. Now, all the identifiers that are in the current executing function. Okay, if there is a function in your program, if there's right, so all that are there in the functions are considered to be the local namespace, and global variables are considered to be in the global namespace. So we have separate memories for this. Okay, so namespace is a memory. Local namespace is a memory where you will be finding all the identifiers particular function. Or global namespace is like in the current executing module. Here we are saying main.py or sudha.py or sinu.py I'm saying. So in that particular program, what are the identifiers? The global ones. Those are considered to be global namespace. And the next one is built-in namespace. In case if you have imported any built-in modules, so those identifiers will be there in the built-in namespace. Now, why we are studying this local, global, and built-in namespace is that when a Python interpreter sees an identifier, so you cannot find the identifier in the local namespace, then it will check in the global namespace. Okay, so it will come from the inwards to the outwards. Okay, so from the smaller namespace to the global one, to the outer one. Okay, so to the larger namespace. So first it will check in the local namespace. If it is found, yes, fine, it is local variable. Else it will check in the global namespace. If it is found in the global namespace, it is a global variable. And finally, if it is not there, it will see in the built-in namespace. If it is not there in local, global, and built-in, and you are trying to print by or anything, it will say, I didn't find the identifier. Okay, so this is how your Python interpreter works. Is this clear? In a program here wherein I have a function, so I said def and then I have max. Max is the name of the function which is taking num as an argument. Okay, so now max will go in the global namespace. Okay, so max will go in the local namespace, and I say large is equal to -1. This large will go into the local namespace. Okay, so then I said I is an iterative, this is also local, and then num, then all this will be in the local namespace. Okay, so coming out, okay, so this n is equal to, I have defined a list which goes into the, n goes into the global namespace. Okay, fine. I said max of n, right? So max, it will look entire program. So max is found in this particular global namespace. Okay, so then is n is also found in the global namespace. Then it will go into this and work. Okay, so after that I said sum. What is sum? Sum is a built-in function which I can apply on a list. Okay, so sum, the identifier sum, it will not be found in the local, it will not be found in the global also. Where your interpreter will be able to find the sum, it will be finding sum in the built-in namespace. Okay, so this is how the variables are segregated based on their scope. Okay, so when it is a global scope, it gets into the global namespace. When it has a local scope, it gets into the local namespace. And if it is a built-in one, it gets into the built-in namespace. So this is how. Let us look into some advantages of the modules. Modules in Python are separate code groupings. Okay, we know that. And why we are grouping them? To reuse. Okay, so these are the advantages. So I have listed out 3 advantages of modules for you. The first one is reusability, and the second one is simplicity, and the third one is scope. Okay, so the first one is the main purpose of the modules. Okay, so modules are functionalities that can be reused in other programs. So you can write 2 programs, one functionality, one module you can use in another program, which we have been seeing throughout this class. Next is like simplicity. Okay, so by using these modules, like you can reduce the number of lines, as well as you can order your code in a proper way. Okay, consist of which can be used to logically structure the code. Okay, so they help you to do that and organize your code, and it will become easy to manage. Why it is becoming easy to manage? Because the number of lines, the code that you write also reduces, right? In the previous case, I didn't write a function for sum. Okay, so I just called the built-in sum. So what happened? The number of lines also reduced. My code didn't get more complex. Okay, so that's how it is making. Okay, so the second advantage is like the simplicity or modularity I get. Okay, and the third one is the scope. A separate namespace is defined by a module that helps to avoid collisions between identifiers. Okay, so if you want the identifiers to have the same names, no problem, because you have this fully qualified name. Okay, so you can call method in a specific module is called. So scoping is also done over here by using the modules, right? So these are the 3 prominent advantages of the modules. Okay, so these are some of the key points of the modules. Okay, so what are the key points? Okay, so to summarize all the concepts that we have learned, okay, so we'll just take a look at those points. Modules can import another module, so we know that. And all import statements should be placed at the beginning of the program. Okay, so but ignore this something I have put in the parenthesis over here, because it's always good that you write the import statements on the top of the programs, because that's how you logically order your program. But even if you don't put it in the beginning, it's not a problem. Okay, fine. But it's a good practice that you put all the import statements in the beginning, like how you put the include statements in the beginning and all that. And next is a module is loaded only once, but can be used many times at many places in the program. Okay, modules are usually stored in files with .py extension. So then the collection of classes, functions, variables inside a module is known as attributes. We have seen modules are usually stored in the files with .py extension. So these are some of the key points to note down. And next, let us see what is there in the standard library. I have shown you this types of modules. The one written by the programmers, that is we, and the other written by external sources, and something which is provided by the Python itself. Okay, so pre-installed in Python. So you can create your own modules. The first point is user-defined modules. The first one is user-defined modules. Okay, so user defined always means that it is programmer defined. Okay, so the first one is user defined module. Second one is like you can get from the external sources. It can be from the other programs or from any other source. You can also import the modules. And the third one is like you get this built-in standard library along with Python. Okay, and these modules are written, some are written in Python and some are written in C programming. Okay, so some standard libraries are these. String, you have RE, regular expressions, date, time, month, random, OS, multiprocessing, subprocess. So we have all this, sys, etc. So I have listed out all of them in terms of your alphabetical order. So we have seen all this in the last class. So I have shown you this, which is IMP. So IMP package is deprecated. Okay, so deprecated means that it no longer exists in Python 3. It used to be there in the previous versions of Python, but later on they deprecated to and have because there is already a module import lib. So if you want the functionalities of IMP, you'll be using import lib. Import lib is the one which imports, is the code that works for importing the other modules. Okay, right. And another very interesting module is your turtle module. Okay, so you can see the turtle module over here. So you have turtle. Okay, so which is used for graphics. Okay, so this is time module to actually get the system time. So they are important for transactions. Okay, so if you're working with the tables, all your global namespace, local namespace, and your everything is put in the symbol table. So you have the symbol table module over here. So there are many modules, okay, so that you can explore and can use them. Okay, so okay, fine. So these are the standard libraries. Okay, so you can go through all this one by one in your leisure time. So when you're trying to use the deprecated methods, so I showed you that IMP is a deprecated module. So when you're trying to import IMP, okay, so in the current versions of Python, it will show it in terms of strike. Okay, so there is a strike through this IMP, if you can see it. Okay, can you see the strike
Yes,
through?
ma'am.
Yes, okay, so this means that IMP is a deprecated method, and also when you try to execute, it will show you an error saying that deprecation warning. Okay, and it will tell you where you can find these functionalities. Okay, so the IMP module is deprecated in favor of, okay, so import lib, meaning that you can find all the functionalities of IMP. In place of IMP, you can use import lib. Okay, so these are the alternatives shown by your interpreter. Okay, so by your IDE, so you can just use them. Modules, and the last topic of your third unit is packages. Okay, what modules and other packages. Okay, and a module contains collections of functions. So we are having three levels over here. When you combine, when you group functions, it becomes a module. When you group modules, it becomes a package. So I think you understood the hierarchy. Okay, so wherein you are having the functions, when you group the functions, it will become a module. When you group the module, it becomes a package. Is it understood, girls? What is the terms of diagram for your better understanding? So I have a module one, wherein inside the module one, I'm having certain attributes. I have the class attributes, I have the functions over here. And don't worry about what is meant by a class and an object and all that. Your next unit is that object oriented concept, which is very, very interesting concept. And you need to learn it thoroughly, because in your next semester, you're having Java. And Java is, again, the starting unit of Java itself, we will start with classes and objects. So it is very important for you to understand what is meant by a class and an object, so which you will be seeing in the next unit. Okay, so we have some classes and some functions. So far, don't worry about your classes and all that. We have some functions, right? Just imagine your functions. So I have some functions. Okay, so say I have function 1, 2 in module 1 and function 3 and 4 in module 2. Okay, so if I group the functions, it becomes a module. Okay, so when I group some functions, it becomes a module. When I put these two modules combined and I put a name to it, it is called as my package. Say for example, I have created a folder. Okay, I have created a folder wherein I am putting PP notes in it. Okay, so I'm putting PP notes in it. And say I'm having another folder. Okay, so saying I'm having another folder wherein I am having C notes in it. Okay, I'm having another folder. Okay, so I'm having another folder in which I have put the data structures notes in it. Okay, all the materials related to the data structures. I have another folder which is having some English in it. Okay, so let us take some English in it. Okay, now what I'm doing is I want to group them based on the semester. Okay, so some criteria I have here to group them. I want to group these folders. So these are folders, right? I have 4 folders. I want to group these folders based on the semester. Okay, so what I have 2 semesters. I have SEM 1 and SEM 2. So what I'll do is I'll create one more folder over here. Okay, I'll create one more folder over here. Say I'm creating a folder wherein I am saying this is a SEM1. Okay, SEM1 folder. And I'm creating another folder which is SEM2 folder. Okay, so this is SEM2 folder. Now what I'll do, I'll put this PP into this SEM2 and data structures into this SEM2. What I'll do, I'll put this C into this SEM1 and this English also I'll put in SEM1. What did I do? I have grouped them based on their functionalities or some criteria. Based on some criteria, I have grouped them. Now what I have 2 levels now. To go to Python programming notes, first thing is I need to open the SEM1 folder, and inside the SEM1 folder I am having the Python programming folder, and inside that Python programming folder again maybe I'm having unit 1, unit 2, unit 3 and unit 6 units folders, and inside each unit maybe I'm having the notes pertaining to that particular unit. So this is what is the folders concept that I have told you is nothing but packages. Packages are used to actually group things together. That's what is the meaning over here of your files in a specific path. Now, in case if I want it tomorrow again with certain things,